because we take this same principle on both sides of this. So even if you don't have a business, you can do this. If you have a W-2 job, literally I'll show you the exact same principle on how to force yourself to have savings by literally paying yourself first.
Welcome back to The Donkey and the Bee with your hosts, Brett and Laura Chotkevys, where we discuss all things marriage, entrepreneurship, and finances. And today we're actually mixing a couple of those. And I feel like I say that a lot, but we're mixing entrepreneurship and finances today and then mixing up a little personal.
Yeah. And we're married, so it counts. All three.
Oh, yeah. I guess it does count. You're right. Okay.
Yeah. So today's a good one. We're going to talk about splitting. And that's a term that Laura and I use between ourselves to really manage our finances. And we do it in our business, we do it in our personal lives. And this has been the biggest, I think, effect financially for us because it has forced us to save. It has forced us to pay ourselves first, to make sure that we have a business profit every single month. And then we took that same concept into our personal lives and said, okay, here's how we have a personal profit or a personal savings every single month. And it's been really, really the game changer for us. Because before we were learning these lessons and got into entrepreneurship, we were just going and trying to make income and really had no result or focus on profit, like the bottom line, like what's the point? And so it's like, let's just grow. And it was like profit. No. Mm-hmm. And it was like, well, now we got profit every single month. We are anticipating what we are going to get every single month in our business and in our personal lives.
Yes, it definitely makes everything more organized. I think in the beginning when we started all this, if we had an extra, it was always like, throw it into marketing. We can do more marketing. Yes, we have extra. Let's do that. And then again, like Brett said, we were left with nothing. And so we're like, why are we working so hard when we have nothing left over at the end of the day? So I'm excited to talk about this today because I think people are going to really relate in business and personal life. So
yeah. So the book that we read that started us on this or taught us this concept was called Profit First. And Mike Michalowicz.
I was just going to look up his name. I was like, I forgot how to say his last name. Okay,
Michalowicz. His book, it was foundational. It was awesome for us. And we actually tried to find the actual physical copy of the book to show you in the camera here, but I think we gave it away.
We probably did.
So our favorite books, and we've talked about a few of them, but we keep just buying them and by the dozen and giving away to people. And then sometimes we'll go to look in the bookshelf and it's like, oh, where's that book? I don't know. It's not there.
Which is frustrating because I underlined some stuff in that book and like highlighted it. I don't even know where it is anymore.
Yeah. But if you are into Audible, that's a fantastic book for Audible. The author, Mike Michalowicz, reads it himself, and he's got a great personality, and he's a little edgy, which is kind of why I like him. But he reads it, and it's fantastic on Audible.
Mm-hmm. He's quirky.
Yeah.
That's why I like it, yeah.
I guess so.
Awesome. Well, what was our story before we read this book, Brett?
So here's kind of the problem and how this affected us. Our first business was flipping houses, and we got started, kind of just went all in and then grew pretty rapidly. We built a team. It was like first year we flipped like 12 houses and then maybe 20 year two. And then by like year 3 or 4, we were flipping like 50 houses a year and rapidly grew. But the lesson was we looked at each other after like maybe 2.5 years, something like that. We had flipped about 50 houses and we looked at each other and we're like, how come we have literally no profit? Like there is no business profit. Like there is nothing in the banks. Like what do we have to show for all of this hustle and all of this hard work? And we looked at each other like, how is it possible that we flipped 50 houses? Some of these have been huge deals, 6-figure deals. And, a lot of them were smaller deals. But nonetheless, like there was some whoppers in there too. And it's like, where did all this money go, right? Like how is it that we got nothing left? Mm-hmm. And a lot of it was lifestyle, right? Like we were living a great lifestyle. But a lot of it was business expenses. We were always trying to grow. We were always throwing more money into marketing. We were always trying something new, whether it was pay-per-click. I mean, that costs so much money.
Google ads, yeah.
Direct mail.
Yeah.
I mean, we were we were sending thousands, tens of thousands a month in direct mail. And, sometimes it was all ups and downs. Sometimes you'd get great deals from it. And then sometimes you'd be like, well, the market just kind of shifted, right? And over the many years that we did do this, you'd see the ups and downs in the market as people are coming into this space. And then all of a sudden you couldn't get the deals you were getting, or, one channel of marketing just stopped working the way it used to work. And it was like, well, I just dumped all this money into it. And then that's not even talking about like hiring people and expanding, right? We literally moved our business from one area of California to a whole nother area, like 4 hours away, built a whole new team there, inside sales, outside sales, project manager, acquisition people. And it was like, all right, we're ramping up, we're doing all of these things, and you're paying all this staff and salary and marketing. And then all of a sudden the market just like shifts, like the market gets cold or a lot of competition comes in. It's like, crap, we just spent all this money in expenses and the income is not there for it. And it's like at the end of the day or the end of the year, it was like, well, where did all that profit go? Like,
you know where it went?
Where'd it go?
Taxes. That was something we were not anticipating that. I think as new business owners, that was something, I mean, I don't know if it was surprising for you, but I think the taxes was like, oh, ouch. That was rough.
Especially California taxes.
Yeah, it was. So I think once we kind of break this whole splitting thing down, it made that a lot easier. But I think someone says the first couple years, if businesses go under, it's because they don't necessarily like put aside the appropriate amount of tax money for their business. And so if you're a business owner out there, this is super vital. This definitely helped us as well.
Yeah. So we're going to unpack this today and show you literally how we set up this system, how we set it up for our businesses, and then how we set it up for our personal. So even if you don't have a business, you can do this. If you have a W-2 job, literally I'll show you the exact same principle on how to force yourself to have savings by literally paying yourself first. And I'd heard that concept the first few years of entrepreneurship as we're like sponging up all these different books. And it just never really became practical for me until we implemented it like this. I'd always heard pay yourself first. So it's like, okay, well, what do I actually do? Like, would I just write myself a check on the first? Like, how do I pay myself first? Because as soon as I get in trouble, I have to take that money back to cover something. And it was like, well, here's a system that actually worked. And we've used this now, I don't know, 8 years, maybe something like that, in multiple different businesses, in real estate, in coaching, in assisted living, and in our personal. So in variety of different types of businesses, you can totally do this.
Jewelry too. Our girls have a jewelry business, so
That's
we
right.
do that too. Yes.
There you go. All right. So how do we set this up? What's the first steps that we did, or what's the structure for this?
Well, for me, okay. So speaking from an individual who's not necessarily money minded, like Brett is, he gets excited about talking about this stuff. I'm not a money person, right? Like, but I understand income coming in. I understand expenses going out. Like that's something that I think most business individuals have an understanding of. But what was hard for me in the beginning was the separate bank accounts for different things. So do you want to kind of discuss that as far as like how we break it down? Yeah,
for sure. So we set up multiple bank accounts, and we do this for our personal, but we also do it for our businesses. So like, for example, each business, like when we first did this, we were doing our real estate company. So our real estate company, we set up 6 separate bank accounts. And so let me hit some of the highlights here. So the first and foremost, you have an income account, and that is your umbrella, like your basket, like all of the income goes into that account. And then from there, it splits into multiple different accounts based on a percentage that we'll talk through of how we set these things up. So 100% of your income comes into this first account, your income account. And that account does not pay any expenses. It doesn't have a checkbook. It doesn't have a debit card. So when you get paid on the first, or when you close a deal, or when your paycheck comes in, you can't just go and spend that money, because that money is literally trapped in that account. You can't spend it unless you have transferred it to another type of checking account, because those other subsequent checking accounts now have a checkbook or a debit card attached to them. So everything first and foremost flows into an income account, because you can't spend it until you have split it. And this is the whole talk here. I'm going to designate percentages for what I want, and I'm going to make sure that I pay myself first by giving myself a percentage for profit or for savings, right? So what I want to do is create this income account, and then I want to set up a profit account. Now, my profit account, we use the term a sacred account because it's like a special account. It's literally not at the same bank. I don't want to set up my profit account at the same bank because I want to make it hard for me to access this money. I want it to be a savings account because, again, I don't want to have a checkbook on it. I don't want to have a debit card on it. I don't even really want it to be convenient when I'm going to the bank to send a wire or whatever that I can just pull money out. I want it to be like across town, like kind of like a little bit of a burden.
Inconvenient. Yes.
Yeah, inconvenient, because if I had to drive the 30 minutes or something to get to that separate bank, then it gives me time to cool down and think of a plan B, right? Instead of spending my sacred money, my profit, which is really not my money, it's really my future self's money. This is my money for investing that we'll talk about later. But I need to protect that. And that's really my future. That's my retirement. That's my seeds for investing. And this is how you pay yourself first, by going through this little bit of inconvenience to set up a sacred account. And then every single month, when your income or your deal closes and you have money going into that income account, the first thing you do is you split off and you transfer money from bank A over to bank B, where your profit account, where your sacred account is.
So that percentage of your income is what going into the profit account?
So we started at 10%. I said, okay, this is my goal, right? And again, you heard the story of where we started. We had a good amount of income, but our expenses were going wild. So the whole premise here is to know your numbers, put things into a percentage type box. And then my goal is to lower my expenses, notch those things down. And by lowering my expenses, I want to force savings. I want to push the percentage number of my income higher and higher, every quarter, every year, whatever it is, into my profit account. So every single month I'm hitting, and we started with 10%. Okay. I had this much dollars come in from closing deals, from salary. I'm going to first and foremost pay myself 10% to my profit account. Then from there, I'm going to set up subsequent accounts. And this is how we'd set it up. We set up an operating expenses account. And that's really kind of an umbrella account for all the normal stuff you're going to do, right? So we had that. And then we also had a owner pay accounts. This is where our salaries and things that we were spending on ourselves personally came out of. And then we had a taxes account. So for percentages for those other three accounts, it was roughly for us. And every business is different because we have 4 different businesses that we're running, and the percentages are wildly different depending on the type of industry you're in. But here's an example that we used on our first time doing this. It was about 50% went into the splitting of this operating expenses account. So that covered our marketing, that covered all the different websites and subscriptions that you have to run a business. It also covered all of our staff and our payroll, not our personal payroll, but our staffing payroll. So 50% of every dollar that came in, we'd budget towards that. So really what it did is it protected ourselves from me, because I was grow. And I'm like, okay, more dollars on marketing. I'm going to hire another person. Let's get more sales. Let's bring in more income. But life is not that smooth. It's ups and downs. And I would try and budget these things in, and then I would I would literally run out of dollars in that account because I was forcing myself to only have 50% of the dollars made. Now, if I was growing and my income was increasing, then fantastic. I had more dollars in that account to be able to spend on the marketing and these other things. And I didn't spend all of it every month, right? Sometimes there was a surplus, but there was clearly times where it was a negative, and I was like, oh, well, we're doing something wrong. Either like we are not bringing in an appropriate amount of income, or this is a check to me to say, hey, something is out of proportion and we need to lower our expenses. What are we spending on marketing? What are we spending on staffing? What can I drill down and lower these numbers on? So that was the big account there. That's where most of it goes. And if you have other things that you're spending these on and you want to track these numbers, this is where you can just create another account. If you literally like marketing is a big one for you, or payroll is a big one for you, separate that account out and say, okay, here's my budget. I'm going to have 15% of my income for marketing or 25% for payroll, whatever it is, but it allows you to track it because it's on its own separate account. And you can't just hire more people or spend more dollars, or it's not like I'm going to increase my marketing dollars this month and lower my payroll next month. Like they're separate. So you're able to track these things and identify where you are struggling and really where the pain point is, because you'll get 3 weeks into the month. And it's like, crap, like this account's out of money.
Mm-hmm.
Now what do I got to do? And you can't ignore it. When you get the email that says your account hit negative on this one, it's like, well, okay, I have money in other accounts, but it's very clear that I'm doing something wrong or I need to adjust my system because this account hit 0. So now what I need to go back to the Excel file and I need to look, okay, how am I splitting out these percentages? And it makes it very practical and real life because you have cause and effect over the course of a month, and you'll see how far into the month you'll get. You'll see if you have a surplus, you'll see if you have a negative. And it's really not okay, I'm going to start this month 1 and it's going to be perfect. It's really more of a month by month, I'm going to continue to adjust this. And there's going to be ebbs and flows in the business or in the year, but I'm able to kind of just finesse this into a percentage system that works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was something that we learned. It took us a while to figure out the percentages. From what I remember, I know it was like 8 years ago, but we didn't really know what percentages to use until we actually made the accounts, distributed a certain amount of money in those accounts, and then kind of just saw how it went after 2 or 3 months. And we adjusted a lot those first few months, and that was okay. We were learning along the process. But something I did want to add was that I know there's probably some people out there that are like, okay, how many accounts are you talking about? That sounds like a lot of accounts. That sounds like a little bit oversight for me. Totally understand. I literally think this year 8 of all this, I'm finally used to it. Like it took me forever when you would open up, your bank app and there's just like all these accounts. Like it's actually a joke with the banker that we use at our account. Like he knows, oh, did you start a new business? Setting up 6 new accounts, huh? Which is actually kind of a cool thing that he knows. Like he knows that we're going to come in, we're going to make the 6 accounts, and for each new LLC that we create, new business. And he honestly could probably tell us what we name them because he knows now. Like we've taught him. There's a pattern. Yeah. We have the OpEx, we have the taxes, we have the income. We have all of them named specifically on our bank accounts so we know where they're going.
Yeah.
And so it may sound super overwhelming because actually, when you even talk about it now, it still sounds overwhelming to me, but I think you'll get used to it. And it's something that will actually make your life so much more organized and actually just easier in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. And I think the naming makes it pretty simple. You don't have to memorize the last 4 of all these different numbers. I have no idea what the numbers are, but there is a pattern, right? It's the real estate company income, the real estate company profit, right? Or it's our assisted living income, assisted living profit, assisted living payroll, all these things, right? So it's the name of the business. And if you only have one business, you don't have to name it. And then it's the type of category where that goes. So when I open up the phone and there's literally like 24 different bank accounts, it's like, oh, it's no big deal. I know exactly what they are. They're organized. I'll have scroll down. Here's this business. And then you can see the different things. Here's this business. Here's our personal. Here's our girls' business. And I think it's kind of simple. I know you're gonna like, holy crap, right? What do you have? How do you even follow this? But no, it's they all have a name, and I think it's pretty easy.
Yeah, and we do, like we mentioned, we have our daughters. They have their own jewelry business, and so we've taught them this as well. And I think that they understand it. They know that their expenses comes out of a certain account. They know, when they have their income, it goes into a certain account, and then they have their profit account, which they love looking at. That's their favorite account to look at. And it should be your favorite account to look at too, because that's exciting to see a certain amount in your profit account. And so it's something that once you do, it's with anything, right? It's like once you do it and you do it over and over and over again, it just becomes, part of your habitual thing that you do. And so I think once you get into it, once you start seeing it and you see the ebbs and flows of the accounts and you get used to the percentages that go into the accounts, it makes it just kind of a natural flow.
Yeah. So the other account I want to talk about was the taxes. Okay, so the taxes, you really don't know what to budget in there until tax time comes around. So it will depend drastically on your business and what your income is looking like. But we started with 10%. And we really didn't know, is it going to be too high or is it going to be too low? And honestly, it's usually 10% has been a little on the high side. Like we have an excess of income in there at the end of the year. And that's fantastic because sometimes our businesses, they're all flow through entities. So they flow through us personally. So we'll have these tax accounts from multiple different businesses. And if one's short, another one may be high, it all flows through into the same personal tax return. But it allows us to compensate for that. And I think it's better to have a little bit high because at the end of the year, after we pay our taxes, and we usually still have money in those multiple tax accounts, that money I don't keep in the tax account. I transfer it out and I move it into our profit account. So it's almost like you have a little extra safety net in there. That's if you don't have to pay the man, then you move that money over to the taxes, or excuse me, you move it over to the profit account. And it's like a little bonus at the end of the year. You're like, woohoo.
So my favorite part about all this is knowing that taxes at the end of the year, they're going to be taken care of. I think the first couple of years of our business being open, that was something that was hard. We did not plan for that. And so I think the ease, or just like, I don't know what it's called, where you have like that pack taken off your back. It's almost like that's how I feel, knowing that we have this money that we've placed into a tax account, and I know that it's taken care of. And I know it's not going to be like this big surprise, at the end of the year, like, oh my gosh, this big old tax bill, we don't have the money for it. No, we always do, because we plan ahead.
Yeah.
And so I think it's that is actually my favorite part about all this, even over the profit, which kind of sounds funny, but
Okay.
I like knowing that that's taken care of.
Yeah. So with taxes, or with any of these accounts, we pay ourselves in the different ways that we have our businesses. Like we have a business that is based on deals. We sell a property, we bring in income. At that point, I split, right? And then we have other business where there's actual like active income every single month on our assisted living. We have rents that are coming in every single month. Same with our other passive real estate. So we can split really when the income comes in. So whether it's only one big deal a year, or whether it's consistently every single month, you're able to split off. And we do that same with the taxes, right? Like here's a big portion based on our percentage that's going to go into this, or on the other company, here is the slow and steady amount that goes in consistently into this tax account or into your profit account in the same kind of way.
Mm-hmm. So as far as taking this type of model and moving it toward personal, so I know that we did this right away with our business. I think that was the first thing we wanted to get a hold of, was our business expenses and our business profit. And then we also wanted to move this whole, I don't know, what would you call it?
System?
System. Thank you. That's a hard word, isn't it? Move that whole system into our personal. So it's very similar.
Yeah.
But
the principle is all the same.
Mm-hmm.
So if you didn't have a business, you could do this. And I am not a personal budget kind of guy. I spent a year or so with like one of those apps where you track literally every single dollar out of your personal expenses. And that's not for me. I don't like that. I'm more of a big picture than a small little intimate details. So we have a bookkeeper that runs literally every single expense on our businesses, but she does not track our personal. So with that in mind, I think that you can use this system as a replacement for budgeting in that kind of way. If you don't like the nitty gritty, like I went to Starbucks and I spent $4.35 and you're going to put it in your app and do that like 6 times a day for everything you spend, that to me is really obnoxious, even if you have it on auto draft to sync up. I think that we use the same principle and you create the multiple accounts. You may have 3 or 4 or 5 personal bank accounts, right? You can literally go to your banker and say, hey, I have a personal checking and a personal savings right now. I want to add 3 more personal checkings, and they're happy to do it for you. So the same kind of principle. If you did it this way, you would have your income account. Now, if you have a W-2 job and it's you and your spouse, literally you can change your direct deposit to go into this new account. So every 2 weeks or whenever you get paid, boom, it goes right into this account. You literally cannot spend the money if you put it into this type of account if you don't have a debit card to it. So literally, like, it's trapped. It's held there until you split. Now, this is where it becomes so practical for paying yourself first, because it's not like the normal way where whatever's left at the end of the month I'm going to save. That's how most people do it. There's never money left at the end of the month. You get near the end, and you're like, oh, let's go out. Like, I don't want to cook dinner again. Let's go, right? Like, but literally it's day one, either of the first of the month, or you can do it, twice a month whenever you get paid. But you're going to split that money. The first thing you split towards is your personal profit account. And you may call this your savings account, right? Your personal saving, but it's really your family's profit. If your family is a business, it needs to have a profit. Every month, your family should have a profit. So you're literally going to pay yourself first by having the money go into your income. It's trapped there until you move it. The first thing you do is you move it to your personal profit account. Then from there, you can set up these other accounts and give them little nicknames also. You might have something for housing, right? It's your rent, your mortgage, your utilities. You may have something like that. You may have something for your auto or some of these other expenses. And I think it's pretty easy if you group them into fixed expenses versus expenses that can fluctuate. Meaning, here's some of the things that are fixed. Every single month, you know what your rent or your mortgage is going to be. If you have a car payment, you know what that's going to be. You know your health insurance, your auto insurance, all those things are fixed, right? Your phone bill, all those things. Every month, you know it's going to be this amount. You could literally group that into just one category, one bank account if you wanted to, because it's fixed. And then from there, the ones that are volatile, the ones that you need to rein in, get control of, right? That's like maybe groceries or restaurants, like Target
Clothing.
or Costco.
I love how he throws in Target. Like I shop at Target all the time. You're so funny.
Yeah, well, I mean, I leave Costco and it's like $800. It's
literally,
like,
Costco's
what just
bad.
happened?
Yeah.
So if you put that into an account, right? Like if you budgeted, okay, a certain percentage and you said, hey, 8% or 20% or whatever your numbers are going to be, go into that account. When you get to zero on that account, it's like, oh, well, I guess we're eating whatever's in the fridge and the pantry. We are not going out for the rest of the month.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that is a lot more practical because I can't stand doing all the little budget apps. That's so annoying. So when I look at the bank account and I see our personal multiple bank accounts and I see like, okay, here's our variable spending money, right? If it's getting low and I know it's the 22nd, I'm like, oh, hey, I need to make this last for the next 8 days, right? Like, let's make dinner at home or let's not go to Target right now. Let's push that to next month. And I think it's very practical to say, hey, here's a way for us to manage this without spending a ton of time on these apps or needing a bookkeeper for your personal accounts. But the principle is the same. Here is how you force yourself to save. Here's how you pay yourself first. I think in the most practical way that I've ever heard somebody explain to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing I did want to add was giving. I think that that's something that is very important to us and something that I don't want to not talk about because that's something that I think is very important and that we teach our girls as well, being very generous and giving. And so we do also within our when our income comes in, that's portioned out into our owner pay. And then we pay 10% of that and we give that to our church or a local nonprofit or somebody in need. So every month we're giving that. And I think that is super important. That's not something that we wait until the end of the month. Oh, we're going to see if we have extra money and then we'll give. Like, no, that's something that when our money comes in, we automatically give that. That's because that's super important to us. And I really do think having that, that just constant each month giving away, I think has created a muscle. It's built a muscle within us of generosity. And it's not easy in the beginning, especially when we first opened our business, we were struggling and we were barely making ends meet in the beginning. Starting a business is very hard, but that was something that was super important to us. And we wanted to be sure that that was like giving of the first fruits is what, the Bible always talks about. And so that is something that I think is vital. I think that if you have that giving heart, more will be given to you to oversee and to manage. And so that is something that we always want to talk about.
Yeah, that's good that you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's very similar to the savings. People always say, well, if I had more income, I would save. Or if I had more income, I would give more. That's really not the case. When you get a raise, you just keep spending it. That's because you need a system here. So the whole pay yourself first is the same as give to God first, right? The same thing, the first fruits. You're literally putting it into this trapped account, this income account. So now you can split it and you can create your own line item there, right? And we started with 10%, but it doesn't have to be 10. It could literally be 2. And then next month, cut some more budget out of your expenses and bring it up to 3 or 4. Or next time you get a raise, instead of putting that additional income into a variable account that you're going to use for spending for play money, right? Don't put it in there. Put those percentages over into the giving or into the savings. And as you are increasing your income and getting raises and bringing on new sources of income, or whether it be passive income or active income, funnel everything into the profit account into the giving account and less, and give yourself, reasonable rewards and things. But really the whole premise of this is the same as the business presence. I want to stretch myself and crush down my expenses and increase my profit and force myself to accept it and then put it in a place where I can't really have easy access to it. And then I'm going to do one of two things. I want to pay off my bad debt, right? I'm not talking about your mortgage but things like credit cards, right? Things you got high interest rates on those things. I want to pay off my bad debts, and then from there, I want to save that money to invest. I want to buy some type of asset. I want to have my money have little money babies, and those money babies to grow and then make their own babies. And really, it's the slow and steady, it's the long-term play. And I think that this is a practical way for a person who is not a finance person. Like, we are professional investors. But if you're not a professional investor, literally you have a W-2 job. This is the path. Create these accounts, split the 2% or 4% or 6%, whatever it is, every month into a sacred account, pay off the bad debt, and then keep adding that money in there, and then learn a little niche. Learn something that you can do that excites you, that will buy an asset. And for us, it's real estate. And we started with no experience, knew nothing about it, but spent about a year or so in, getting coaching and training and diving into it. But you can do the same while you're knocking down that bad debt. And this is really the model that we teach our girls, right? Income into giving, into paying yourself first, and then covering your expenses while they are learning. I literally tour them, train them, walk through distressed real estate and show them, like, hey, here's the play. Here's what you got to do. Here's the numbers on this, right? Here's your exit strategy. Here's what your cash flow is going to look like. And they're kind of getting it, but over the next few years, they'll understand it more and more and more. Yeah. Like the same principle, give yourself time while you're learning this stuff, while you're setting up all these systems and saving, then learn a niche, because this is really how you get ahead in life. It's not about the active income. It's about the passive income.
Mm-hmm. You said something earlier that I wanted to touch on. You talked about the giving portion and just initially building that habit of giving, starting small. I think that is, there's a lot of individuals out there, they'll say, oh, only 10% that's the minimum that you give. And I do agree with that. But I think that if you haven't been doing that and you want to start giving, by starting small and building that habit, and then just building on top of that habit through time, to whatever percentage you feel you want to give, I think is awesome. Because I think if you're not giving now and you want to give, and then all of a sudden you just start giving 10%, like, you're gonna be like, oh crap, like this is hard, Mm-hmm. It's almost like working out or eating right or whatever it may be. Like, you got to start small with something, right? It's not just all of a sudden I'm gonna get up 7 days a week and work out for an hour or two. Like, that's a lot for somebody. I think sometimes just getting up out of bed, that builds a habit. The next day, getting up out of bed, putting your shoes on. The next day, getting out of bed, putting your shoes on, and opening the front door, walking outside. Like, it's slowly building that habit. And yes, it may seem small, but small little baby steps will lead to that one big goal that you're trying to attain. And so I just wanted to reiterate that I think that was a good point, in that if you're not starting right now, that just starting small and building on that would be fantastic for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think take that exact same principle on the savings and on the giving. Mm-hmm. I think those are the two things that people neglect in this life, and it has the biggest reward for you, whether it be your end of life years or your eternal life years. They are both something that people neglect. Mm-hmm.
Yep. You got to prepare your future self for that. And it's almost like you're paying your future self, which I never really thought about. That's really what you are doing. Mm-hmm. And your future kids. So it's not just yourself in the current, it's for the future.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, any word of encouragement, or like kind of wrap up, like if someone wants to do this, what are their first steps and what should they do?
So I know we already mentioned this, but I think every big step we've taken in our personal, business, marriage, every type of avenue in our life has been with a book. And so I think I really want to stress reading not just Profit First, but all the books that we've talked about, I think are are just vital in like changing your trajectory within your personal life, business life, entrepreneur life, family life in general. And so I would say get out there, read that Profit First. Just let it immerse you, let it just wash over your mind. And then I think just going to your bank account, going to your bank and being like, hey, I need these bank accounts, name them. That's a start, right? You don't even have to put any money in it yet. I mean, you do have to do the minimum, but like just getting there and getting them started, I think is I think a little baby step to get there.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, this has been the biggest thing that got us growing. So I hope that this is really meaningful for you. I hope that you know that you can do this in business or in your personal life, and it can be a game changer for your personal and your business finances.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Alrighty, y'all. Hope you got a little gold nugget like we always say. We'll see you next time.
All right. See y'all later.